Hello, I'm Charles Kovess, Australasia's passion provocateur, and welcome to this week's episode of the Charles Kovess Show, episode 200. We got to the 200. Yippee! So I'm wearing my crown. Why am I wearing my crown? Well, because I'm recording this on the King's birthday weekend in Australia, which is a long weekend. On Monday, it's called the King's birthday, celebrates King Charles, was Queen's birthday for many years, as you all know. And so, since it's the King's birthday weekend, and since King Charles III is the birthday we're celebrating, I thought I would be King Charles IV, at least for episode 200. So, welcome to the show, whether you're watching on Rumble or YouTube or listening via one of the many podcasts. And if you're only listening, you're missing my look, if you like, with a crown. We remind you we've created a new format for the show. The foundational principles that lie at the heart of the show haven't not changed. Instead of exploring one big idea each week, I explore 2 or 3 big impact issues, and then explore how the principles of this show can be used by you to elegantly and effectively handle those big impact issues. I will share whatever resources I consider to be relevant in helping you in handling such issues. The show notes now give you links to the foundational principles and further details about my background. And secondly, you can find the links to my 2 websites and find a whole bunch of resources, including details of the self-awareness and passion quest. So, let's discuss this week's big impact issues and how to elegantly handle them with the principles of the self-awareness and passion quest. I consider that we are in a spiritual battle in Australia and in the world. A simple battle between good versus evil. This battle is part of what I consider to be World War III that is underway and has been underway on our planet since early 2020. I've calculated that there are 12 different battlefronts in this war. Just like any conventional war, there are different battlefronts in different theatres of war. The war is one war, there are 12 battlefronts. In World War III, what do I consider to be winning the war? If you go to war, hopefully you've got some goals to achieve by winning the war. Well, let me tell you what my goals are, what I consider to be winning the war, and a lot of people I deal with would agree with me. I say it's getting back our rights and freedoms as they existed, at the very least as they existed at December 2019, before the madness of 2020 commenced. The second part of winning the war is the proper application by proper judges, by non-corrupted, non-politicised judges and courts and authorities, properly applying each nation's constitution as it existed at December 2019 and all of the laws that are made for each nation pursuant to that constitution. In other words, the proper application of law. In Australia, that has not been the case. So I'm after 2 aspects to this war, to winning this war. Number 1, getting back what we had at December 2019, and then number 2, a better application of the rule of law. I've talked about that in an earlier episode, a couple of weeks ago. That's what I mean. It's the laws that we have that have been developed for hundreds of years to be properly applied. I say politicians are behaving very badly for a whole bunch of reasons. I don't want to go through those reasons simply in the interest of time. You can make your own decision whether you think our politicians in all countries are behaving well or badly. Our politicians have been corrupted in many ways. I also consider them to be less competent than they were when I finished my law degree from Melbourne University, my first law degree. I've got a master's degree as well, in the early 1970s. I consider highly competent men and women are not interested in getting into politics, partly because of the 24/7 news cycle, the relentless examination of anything done by any person who's a politician in the past. I think, therefore, less competent people are attracted to be politicians, and then because life is certainly getting more complicated, issues are being left to the bureaucrats, to the technocrats. And you will hear politicians saying, the experts told us so. That's a total abrogation, not a delegation. It's an abrogation, and it comes at the expense of society and at huge expense to your life. Incompetent or incapable politicians do not choose good over evil in sufficiently effective ways. They are choosing many evil ways forward. If you agree with me and consider that we have a spiritual battle on our hands as part of this World War III, then you will join me in saying that we, the people, need to engage in this spiritual battle. There are many battles that we can engage in, well, many, a number. We each make a choice in how we do that. And in a war, there are people who are, for example, the cooks who feed the soldiers who are on the front line. Not everybody is on the front line doing the physical tasks. But each one of us can play a part in this spiritual battle. I say humanity needs to play a part. I say this spiritual battle plays out in the field of energetics, and the universe is essentially made up of energy. It looks physical, but everything is energy. Good energy versus evil energy is what I'm talking about. So how do we play a part? Let me take you through some practical steps which are also crucial parts of the self-awareness and passion quest. They're crucial principles that lie at the heart of that quest. It is essentially a one-on-one coaching program with you. Firstly, understand that fear is not spiritual. Being fearful is not spiritual behavior. Fear is the antithesis of spiritual. As the Bible says, perfect love casts out all fear. Love is spiritual. Fear is mental. Fear weakens you. You can't be a strong soldier in battle when you are weak. You cannot be fearful. Secondly, when you are fearful, you lose many of your freedoms. Think about that. Fear takes away your freedoms. When you are fearful, you won't even walk out the front door of your house. If you are fearful about protesters, you won't even walk past the protesters. If you are fearful, you won't have the freedom to take a risk. Fear robs you of your freedoms, and it's freedom that makes you human. So this development of your spiritual capabilities, of your spiritual strengths, reduces fear, and then you get your freedoms back. 3, in a spiritual battle, we need to understand what are the spiritual parts of our lives. Well, I've done shows, the previous 199 shows, I've done some shows on what the 10 key aspects of spirituality are. They all start with the letter F. I'll run through them quickly. Family, friends, faith, fun, forgiveness, freedom, philosophy. Yes, I know it's a playful use of F. Fortitude, fearlessness, and fornication. An F word related to making love. Again, making love is a spiritual experience. So when you think of those 10 aspects of spirituality, it then gives us a lead into what we can do to fight this spiritual battle. Remember, one of 12 battlefronts in World War III. So here they are. Prayer. Pray to your God. If you don't believe in God, that's your problem. I do. Prayer puts you into a spiritual space. You are giving space to your spirit side. If you ignore your spirit side, it shrivels up. And then what happens is fear dominates you, not love. Next, church. Go to church. Spend time at church. Listen to what experts in spirituality say. It's like having vitamins for your soul. Next, take part in a faith community, the faith of your choice, but have a community that is united in matters of faith that then support you and you support others and you each support the group. Come together frequently and regularly. That's how church functions. But church is a different issue to a faith community. Next, because family and friends are crucial spiritual elements, build your relationships within family. Build your friends' network of like-minded people who want good to triumph over evil. Have such friends who agree on what is evil and what is good. There are many things that I consider evil. I've talked about them in previous shows. One of them is educating children about transgender matters, just as one example. Another is speaking untruths in the name of truth. The next one is to have more fun. Fun is another spiritual aspect of our humanity. Lighten up. Why can angels fly? Because they take themselves lightly. If you are constantly weighed down by ponderous thoughts and refuse to have fun, you become prey to fear. Fun liberates you from fear. And lastly, strengthen your spirit with hard tasks. That taps into two of the F words, fearlessness and fortitude. Do hard things. If you don't do hard things, you won't be able to cope when hard times come. You have to build up, just like an athlete builds up through training for the hard times. You and I need to build up for the hard times that we definitely will face, if you haven't yet faced it, in this World War III. And so as a spiritual exercise, you then say, hey, what are the hard things I can do to ready myself for whatever might happen? And one of those things that might happen in this World War III is that you lose everything. You lose everything except your faith, except your family, except your friends. What would that be like? And there are various techniques. I've run programs on this of facing what would be really difficult, getting mentally geared up, getting spiritually geared up for what would be difficult. I'm up for this spiritual battle. I hope you are as well. And part of the question of what is good versus evil then depends on your philosophy, another F word. What is good? What are politicians doing that is evil? What do you want to fight for? The clarity that you gain through your philosophy then builds your desire to build your strength to fight this spiritual battle. So that's about it. My resources this week: music, songs. In particular, I was raised as a Catholic. There are Christian hymns that when I listen to them, they take me back to an earlier time, but they also move me spiritually. Songs move us. The right songs move us. What hymns of whatever faith you're in have you found move you in your life journey? That is a resource, and listening to them frequently. That's why Christian churches, that's where I have most of my experience, they have music. And it's the music that lifts the soul. Why? Because you've heard me speak about this in the past as well. Music is the language of the soul. And I'm a musician. I've been playing music since 1967. I've been playing a double bass for many, many years, and the guitar. Music is the language of the soul. So tapping into the right sort of music is a spiritual building for you. And the book I want to refer you to is a book, The Cost of Discipleship, by Dietrich Bonhoeffer, who was executed by the Nazis in Germany in 1945. because he spoke out against the Nazi regime. The cost of discipleship. And what Bonhoeffer talks about is this need to build our spiritual strength. As we build that strength, we will win this spiritual battle. One announcement on TNT Radio on the Mind Medicine program. I have a 2-hour session. My first guest is Tony Nikolic, an Australian lawyer. We're going to be talking about the legal system, and we're also going to be talking about what's happening to Rainer Fulmich. We are on a mission to help Rainer Fulmich, who is being unlawfully held in jail by the German government. He was unlawfully kidnapped by the German government. Rainer Fulmich has been fighting for your freedom and for good against evil. We need to support him, in my view. Secondly, my second guest is Professor Ted Steele, an Australian professor, an amazing scientist, and we're going to talk about the fear-mongering that's going on in government about what diseases are going to come into the future, and his view around how we're being sold lies about what has happened and what's going to be happening. So he's on from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m, and Tony Nikolic is on from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. So I hope today's show makes a beneficial difference to your life. I believe your life is meant to be all that you are capable of making of it. As you build your spiritual strength, I believe that will increase your capacity to live life on your terms. If you're new to the show, check out the show notes for the foundational principles, background about me, and the links to my 2 websites. So again, thanks for watching or listening. And until our next show, may your week be full of passion, enjoyment, fun, challenge, and ever-increasing self-awareness so you make decisions that are right for your life. And I take off my crown on the King's birthday weekend. That's the end of the 200th show. Have a great week. See you next week. Bye.